The flames licked at my pages again. Maya's smile gleamed in the firelight as she fed my manuscript to the blaze, sheet by precious sheet. "Nobody wants to read your pathetic romance novel, Stella," she sneered, her voice cutting through the smoke. This wasn't the first time I'd watched my dreams burn, but this time, I remembered everything. 3 months ago, I died in a car crash after discovering Maya had stolen my work and signed a publishing deal under her own name. Now, I'm 18 again, standing in her basement, watching her destroy my manuscript. Except this time, I'm ready. The acrid smoke stung my eyes, but I didn't cry. Not this time. Maya thought she was erasing my future, but she was actually creating it. Every ash that floated to the concrete floor was a weapon I'd use against her. "There," she said, brushing soot from her manicured hands. "Now you can focus on something more realistic, like helping me promote my book." Her book. The one I'd written in my previous life, pouring my soul onto every page while she brought me coffee and pretended to be supportive. The bestseller that made her famous while I rotted in the ground. I smiled, tasting revenge on my tongue. "You're absolutely right, Maya. I should focus on helping you." She blinked, clearly expecting tears or rage. My calm unsettled her, but she recovered quickly. "Good. I'm glad you're finally being sensible about this writing hobby of yours." Hobby. The word sliced through me, but I kept smiling. In my past life, that comment had shattered me. This time, it fueled me. I knelt beside the dying fire, carefully scooping the ashes into an empty coffee tin. Maya watched, confused, as I sealed every speck of my burned manuscript inside. The metal felt cold against my palms, but the contents burned with possibility. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice pitched higher than usual. "Making sure nothing goes to waste," I said, cradling the tin like a precious artifact. "You taught me that." Maya's laugh sounded forced. "You're being weird, Stella. Just throw that trash away." "No," I said, meeting her eyes. "I think I'll keep it, as a reminder." The basement door slammed behind me as I climbed the stairs, carrying my ashes like a burial urn. Maya's mother smiled at me from the kitchen, her kind face wrinkled with concern. "How did the reading go, honey?" Mrs. Chen asked, wiping flour from her hands. "Enlightening," I replied. "Maya gave me some excellent feedback." If she only knew what kind of feedback her daughter specialized in. In my previous life, Mrs. Chen had attended Maya's book launch, beaming with pride as photographers captured her talented daughter, signing copies of my stolen work. The drive home passed in a blur of streetlights and memories. I parked outside my apartment building, clutching the coffee tin against my chest. The weight of the ashes felt significant. Not just burned paper, but burned dreams given substance. My phone buzzed with a text from Maya. "Proud of you for being mature about this. Movie night tomorrow?" I typed back, "Can't wait." The next morning, I opened a new document on my laptop. But instead of rewriting the romance novel Maya had burned, I began something else entirely. A thriller about a woman who discovers her best friend has been sabotaging her life for years. I titled it Ashes to Ashes. The words flowed like water breaking through a dam. Every betrayal Maya had dealt me, every lie she'd told, every moment of manipulation. I transformed it all into fiction. But I made one crucial change. In my story, the betrayed woman got her revenge. Maya knocked on my apartment door 3 hours later, holding 2 iced coffees, our usual Saturday ritual. Her auburn hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless, her smile the same one that had fooled me for 15 years. "Ready for our writing session?" she asked, settling onto my couch like she owned it. In my previous life, I'd spent every weekend helping Maya edit her plagiarized version of my novel. She'd claimed writer's block, begged for my input, then slowly twisted my suggestions until I believed the original ideas were hers. "Actually," I said, closing my laptop, "I think I need a break from writing." Maya's coffee paused halfway to her lips. "A break? But you were so passionate about that romance thing." "Things change," I shrugged. "Maybe you were right. Maybe I should be more realistic about my talents." Relief flooded her features. "I'm proud of you for recognizing that. Not everyone can be a writer, Stella, but you have other gifts. Like being naive enough to trust her, like being talented enough to create what she couldn't." "Actually," I continued, "I've been thinking about what you said yesterday, about helping you promote your book. Maya straightened, excitement sparking in her green eyes. Really? You'd want to do that? Of course, what are friends for? She launched into a detailed explanation of her marketing strategy, her voice animated as she described book signings and interviews. I nodded and smiled, memorizing every word. The coffee tin sat on my kitchen counter, visible through the doorway, a constant reminder of what she'd taken from me. In my past life, Maya's book, my book, had hit the bestseller list within 3 weeks. She'd appeared on morning shows, given interviews about her creative process, and built a social media following of devoted fans. The irony had been suffocating, watching my own words quoted back to me by the woman who'd stolen them. This time, I'd be ready for all of it. Oh, Maya said, pausing mid-sentence. I should mention, my editor wants to see my next manuscript in 6 months. I've been struggling with ideas. Of course she had. Thieves never struggled with ideas, they struggled with finding new victims. I'm sure inspiration will strike, I said sweetly. Maya's eyes narrowed slightly. You seem different today, Stella, more confident. Do I? I tilted my head, studying her face. Maybe watching my work burn was exactly what I needed. Her laugh was nervous. That's a weird way to put it. Is it? Sometimes destruction leads to clarity. That night, I worked until dawn on Ashes to Ashes. The story poured out of me like blood from a wound. Painful, but necessary. I wrote about friendship turned toxic, about trust weaponized against the truster, about the slow poison of gaslighting disguised as support. The protagonist, Stella, was a writer whose best friend, Mara, systematically destroyed her confidence while stealing her work. But this Stella fought back. This Stella won. I saved the document in 3 different locations and backed it up to the cloud. Maya wouldn't burn this one. Monday morning brought Maya's first interview. A local podcast about emerging authors, small enough to feel safe, but large enough to establish her platform. I listened to the live stream from my kitchen, my fingers white-knuckled around my coffee mug. So tell us about your writing process, the host said. Well, Maya's voice crackled through my speakers. I've always been drawn to emotional stories. I think my strength is really understanding human nature, you know? The way people connect and hurt each other. She'd practiced that answer. I'd heard her rehearsing it in the bathroom mirror during our last writing session. The session where she'd pretended to struggle with dialogue while secretly recording my suggestions. And where do you find inspiration? The host continued. Everywhere, Maya laughed. Sometimes the best stories come from the most unexpected places. You just have to keep your eyes open. The coffee tin sat on my counter, its contents whispering promises of justice. Maya had no idea how much inspiration she was about to provide. I pressed send on the email I'd prepared. The subject line read, Anonymous tip regarding Maya Chen's debut novel. The email went to the podcast host, 3 literary bloggers, and the submissions coordinator at Maya's publishing house. Attached was a document I'd spent the weekend preparing, a detailed timeline of Maya's writing process that I'd documented in my diary during our previous life. Dates when she'd claimed writer's block, screenshots of our text conversations where she'd asked for help with brainstorming, photos of us working together with Maya clearly looking at notes I'd written. The evidence was damning and irrefutable, but the masterpiece was the recording. Maya had a habit of leaving voice memos for herself when she got inspired. What she didn't know was that I'd been backing up her phone to my laptop for months, supposedly to help her save storage space. The recording was from 2 weeks before my death. Maya's voice clear as crystal. Stella's romance novel is perfect. The plot, the characters, even the dialogue. If I can just convince her to let me help with the editing, I can make this work. She's so desperate for my approval, she'll never suspect I'm planning to submit it myself. I'd found the file while searching through her backups, looking for evidence of her theft. Now it would serve a different purpose. The first response came within an hour. The podcast host, professional but concerned. Miss Chen, we've received some troubling information regarding your novel. Could you please contact us to discuss? I imagined Maya's face reading that email, the blood draining from her cheeks as panic set in. The same panic I'd felt when I discovered her betrayal. Maya called me, her voice shaking. Stella, something's happening. The podcast people are asking weird questions about my book. What kind of questions? I asked, injecting just the right amount of concern into my tone. About my writing process? About whether I had help. It's insane. Like someone's trying to sabotage me. That's terrible. Who would do something like that? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Will you meet me for lunch? I need moral support. Of course, that's what friends are for. We met at Cafe Luna, the same place where Maya had convinced me to give her my manuscript for feedback in my previous life. She looked haggard, her usual composure cracked around the edges. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her hands trembled as she stirred her latte. 3 different people have contacted me about plagiarism accusations, she said, stabbing her salad with unnecessary force. Someone sent them evidence, photos, recordings, emails. Evidence of what? I asked, widening my eyes in innocent confusion. That I stole the book from someone else? I gasped, one hand flying to my chest. Maya, that's horrible. Who would make up something like that? Her green eyes locked onto mine, searching for any hint of deception. I kept my expression carefully neutral, the way she'd taught me during years of gaslighting. I don't know, she said slowly. But whoever it is knows details about my writing process. Personal details. Maybe it's another writer, someone jealous of your success? Maya's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and went pale. What is it? I leaned forward, all concerned friend. My editor wants to see me. Today. Perfect timing. I'd sent the most damning evidence to Maya's publisher this morning, including the audio file and a detailed analysis of how the writing style in her book matched samples of my work from college. I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding, I said, reaching across to squeeze her hand. Your talent speaks for itself. Maya pulled her hand away like I'd burned her. Does it? Because right now, it feels like someone's trying to destroy my career before it even starts. Who would want to hurt you like that? She stared at me for a long moment. I can't think of anyone. Liar. She knew exactly who had access to all that information, but admitting it would mean confessing to the theft, and Maya was too proud for that. I should go, she said, gathering her purse with shaking hands. The meeting's in an hour. Good luck. Call me after. Yeah, sure. I watched her walk away, shoulders rigid with stress. Phase 1 was complete. Maya's publisher dropped her that afternoon. The official statement was carefully worded. Creative differences regarding the manuscript's origins. But the industry grapevine told the real story. Maya Chen was a fraud who'd stolen another writer's work. The news broke on Publishers Weekly's website at 3:47 p.m. By evening, it was trending on book Twitter. #Maya Chen scandal generated thousands of tweets, most of them brutal. Another day, another plagiarism scandal. When will publishers learn to fact-check? Feeling bad for the real author. Imagine having your work stolen by your friend. Maya Chen is why we can't trust debut authors anymore. I scrolled through the comments from my couch, the coffee tin of ashes sitting on the table beside me. Justice tasted better than I'd imagined. Each angry tweet felt like vindication, each shared article like a small victory, but it wasn't enough, not yet. Maya called at midnight, sobbing into the phone like her world was ending. Which, to be fair, it was. Stella, I'm so sorry to wake you, but I didn't know who else to call. Maya, what happened? They dropped me. My publisher, my agent, everyone. They think I'm a plagiarist. Oh my God, that's awful. The worst part is, I can't even defend myself properly. The evidence is so detailed, so personal. Like someone was watching me write the whole time. Someone was. Me. Documenting every moment of your theft from my own naive diary. Maybe you should hire a lawyer. With what money? I spent the advance on my apartment deposit. And now, her voice broke. Now everyone thinks I'm a liar. I'm sure this will blow over. No, it won't. My name is poison now. No one will ever publish me again. Good. That was exactly what I'd intended. Listen, I said, softening my tone. Why don't you come over tomorrow? We can figure this out together. You'd do that? After everything that's happened? Of course, you're my best friend. The lie slid off my tongue like honey. Maya had never been my friend. She'd been my parasite. but she'd never figured that out. Maya arrived the next morning looking like she hadn't slept in weeks. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes wrinkled, her usually perfect makeup completely absent. She clutched a bottle of wine like a lifeline. "I brought wine," she said, holding it up with shaking hands. "It's 10 a.m. Time is meaningless when your life is over." I let her in, watched her collapse onto my couch like a broken doll. This was the moment I'd dreamed about during every lonely night in my previous life, watching Maya suffer the consequences of her choices. But instead of satisfaction, I felt empty. This wasn't enough. Destroying her career was just the beginning. "I keep thinking about who could have done this," Maya said, pouring wine into the coffee mug I offered. The evidence was so specific. Photos of us working together, recordings of me talking about the book. Maybe someone hacked your phone? That's what I thought at first, but some of this stuff wasn't on my phone. It was... She trailed off, studying my face with new suspicion. "What?" "Nothing, never mind." But I could see the wheels turning in her head. Maya was calculating, suspicious by nature. How long before she realized the truth? "Actually," I said, setting down my own mug, "I should tell you something." Maya straightened, alert despite her devastation. "I've been working on a new project, a book about betrayal and friendship." "Oh, that's nice." "I think you'd find it interesting. The plot is about a woman who discovers her best friend has been sabotaging her for years." Maya's face went very still. "Stella." "She starts by stealing small things, ideas, opportunities, credit for achievements. But eventually she gets greedy and steals something that can't be replaced." "What are you saying?" I picked up the coffee tin from the side table, shaking it gently so the ashes rustled inside. "I'm saying that sometimes when someone burns your work, they're actually giving you the perfect material for your next book." Understanding dawned in Maya's eyes like a terrible sunrise. "You. It was you. It was me." Maya lunged forward, grabbing for the tin, but I held it out of reach. "You psychotic bitch! You destroyed my life." "No," I said calmly. "You destroyed your own life when you decided to steal from me. I just made sure there were consequences." "Steal from you? Are you insane? I helped you with that stupid romance novel." "Helped me?" "Maya, you burned the original manuscript and then submitted a plagiarized version under your own name. The only reason I know is because I have an excellent memory." "That's impossible. You couldn't know that unless—" She stopped, her face draining of color. "Unless what?" Maya sank back onto the couch, all the fight gone out of her. "Unless you remembered." Ah, so she knew about the rebirth too. "How long have you known?" I asked. "Since the day after the accident. I woke up 18 again, back in my parents' house with all my memories intact." Maya's voice was hollow. "I thought I was getting a second chance to do things right. And instead, you decided to make the same choices all over again." "I panicked. I knew you'd figure out what I'd done eventually, so I decided to burn the manuscript before you could submit it yourself. Except this time I was ready for you." Maya stared at the tin in my hands. "So what now? You've ruined me. Are you happy?" "Not yet." I opened my laptop and showed her the screen. "Ashes to Ashes" by Stella Williams. 45,000 words and counting. This is my new book, a psychological thriller about a woman who gets a second chance at life and uses it to destroy the friend who betrayed her. It's incredibly detailed, Maya, almost like I lived through it myself. Maya's face went white. "You can't publish that. It would destroy both of us. It would destroy you. I'm the victim in this story, remember? Stella, please, I'm begging you, don't do this." "Do what? Write fiction?" Last I checked, that wasn't illegal. "You know what this would do to me? If people read that book and connected to what happened, they might realize that Maya Chen isn't just a plagiarist. She's also a manipulative sociopath who's been gaslighting her best friend for years." Maya buried her face in her hands. "I'm sorry. I'm so, so sorry. I never meant for things to go this far." "Yes, you did. You meant every bit of it. The only thing you're sorry about is getting caught." "That's not true." "Isn't it?" I leaned forward. "In our first life, you felt no remorse when I died. You kept my book, kept the fame, kept the money. You even gave interviews about how much you missed your dear friend Stella, who'd been such an inspiration to your work. Maya flinched. How do you know about that? Because I've been doing my research, Maya. I know about the memorial scholarship you created in my name. I know about the dedication you added to the second edition of my book. For Stella, who believed in dreams. I was trying to honor you. You were trying to cover your tracks. Make yourself look like the grieving friend instead of the thief who drove me to my death. Maya was crying now, ugly sobs that shook her whole body. Please, Stella, I'll do anything. I'll confess publicly, give back the money, whatever you want. Just don't publish that book. Oh, but I'm definitely publishing this book. In fact, I've already submitted it to 3 publishers. What? I showed her my email drafts folder. 3 query letters sent yesterday evening, each one more compelling than the last. But here's the interesting part, I continued. I submitted it under a pseudonym, Ash Williams. And instead of a regular manuscript, I included something special. I reached into my desk drawer and pulled out a bound copy of my novel. The cover was black with silver lettering, and embedded in the design were actual ashes, the remains of my original manuscript, pressed between sheets of clear resin. This is a mock-up of the cover design. The ashes you see, they're from my burned pages. The publisher will get to decide whether that's just a clever marketing gimmick or something more meaningful. Maya stared at the book like it was a venomous snake. That's sick. It's poetic justice. My phone buzzed with a new email notification. I glanced at the screen and smiled. Well, would you look at that? I just got my first response. Maya watched in horror as I opened the email and read it aloud. Dear Miss Williams, we are intrigued by your submission and would like to schedule a call to discuss your novel further. The unique cover concept is particularly compelling. Please contact us at your earliest convenience. Best regards, Sarah Chen, Senior Editor, Blackwood Publishing. They're interested, I said, unable to keep the satisfaction out of my voice. You can't do this to me. I'm not doing anything to you, Maya. I'm just telling my story. Our story. You're telling our story, and that makes me a character in your book. I have rights. Actually, you don't. I checked with a lawyer. As long as I change enough identifying details and call it fiction, I'm protected. Besides, who's going to believe that someone would be crazy enough to literally publish their friend's ashes on a book cover? Maya's face cycled through several emotions: rage, fear, desperation, and finally, a calculating coldness I recognized from our previous life. Fine, she said, her voice suddenly steady. You want to play games? Let's play games. She stood up, straightening her clothes and wiping her eyes. You think you're so clever, Stella, but you forgot one thing. What's that? I remember our previous life too, which means I know all your secrets. Every embarrassing moment, every shameful thought, every weakness you tried to hide. She smiled, and for a moment, she looked like the old Maya, confident, predatory, dangerous. Publish your little book, she continued, but be prepared for the consequences. Because if you destroy my life, I'll make sure to destroy yours right back. You already tried that, Maya. It didn't work. Last time I was working alone. This time I'll have help. From who? From everyone whose life you're about to ruin with your petty revenge story. Did you think I was the only one with secrets? The only one who'd be damaged by your tell-all novel? I felt the first flicker of uncertainty. What are you talking about? I'm talking about Derek Morrison, your college boyfriend who's now a married pastor. The one you wrote about in explicit detail in your diary entries. Remember how you documented every encounter, every intimate moment? My blood went cold. Derek had been a major character in my original novel, thinly disguised but recognizable to anyone who knew us. Or what about Professor Jenkins? Maya continued, the one who gave you special attention in exchange for favors? Think his tenure will survive a scandal like that? Those details aren't in the new book, aren't they? You said this book was incredibly detailed, like you lived through it yourself. How detailed, Stella? Detailed enough to ruin innocent people's lives along with mine? She had me. I'd been so focused on destroying Maya that I hadn't considered the collateral damage my book might cause. I can change the details. Not if you want it to be believable, and if you sanitize it too much, it loses its impact. Face it, Stella. You can't have your revenge without hurting people who don't deserve it. Maya picked up her purse, her confidence fully restored. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to withdraw your submissions and delete that book. In exchange, I'll disappear from your life forever. I'll move to another city, change my name if I have to. And if I don't, then I'll make sure everyone you care about knows exactly what you're planning to do to them. Derek's wife will get an advance copy of your book chapters. Professor Jenkins' department head will receive detailed explanations of what he'll find when he reads your novel. Your parents will learn about every secret you thought you'd hidden. Maya paused at the door, her hand on the knob. You have 24 hours to decide. Revenge or conscience, Stella. You can't have both. After Maya left, I sat staring at my laptop screen for hours. The cursor blinked in the middle of Chapter 12, where I'd been describing Maya's manipulation tactics in painful detail. She was right. The book was full of real people, real events, real secrets that belonged to more than just the two of us. Publishing it would destroy lives beyond Maya's, but that didn't make her ultimatum fair. She'd stolen from me, betrayed me, driven me to my death in our previous life. Didn't I deserve justice? I opened a new browser window and searched for Derek Morrison. He'd kept his promise from college. He was now the head pastor at a megachurch in Texas, married with 3 young children. His wife's social media was full of family photos and inspirational quotes. Professor Jenkins had retired from teaching but still lived in town. His obituary-ready bio mentioned his dedication to mentoring young female students. No mention of the inappropriate relationships that had cost him previous positions. Maya was right about one thing. These people didn't deserve to have their lives destroyed for my revenge. But that didn't mean I was powerless. I spent the night rewriting it. Every real name became fictional. Every identifying detail was changed or removed. The setting moved from our college town to a fictional city thousands of miles away. Maya became Mara, a composite character who embodied her worst traits without being recognizably her. The story remained the same: betrayal, theft, gaslight, revenge. But now it was truly fiction. No one would be able to prove it was based on real events. Except for the ashes on the cover, those were still real. By dawn, I had a new book. Still a psychological thriller about betrayal and second chances, but now it couldn't hurt anyone except Maya. And only if she was stupid enough to publicly claim it was about her. Maya called at exactly 9 a.m., 24 hours after her ultimatum. Well, she said without preamble, I've made my decision. And check your email. I'd sent her the revised query letter and the first 3 chapters of the new version. The story was still mine, but now it couldn't hurt anyone except Maya. And only if she was stupid enough to publicly claim it was about her. You changed it, she said after a few minutes. I fictionalized it. No one will be able to connect it to our real lives. But the core story is still the same. A woman gets revenge on the friend who betrayed her. Yes, because that's my story to tell, Maya. My pain, my betrayal, my choice of how to heal from it. And the ashes, still there, still real, still mine. Maya was quiet for a long moment. I suppose this is acceptable. No one gets hurt except me, and I deserve whatever happens. Yes, you do. Stella? What? For what it's worth, I really am sorry. In both lives, I convinced myself I was helping you by editing your work, improving it, making it publishable. But the truth is, I was just jealous. You had a talent I could never match, and instead of supporting you, I tried to steal it. The apology caught me off guard. In all our years of friendship, Maya had never admitted to being wrong about anything. Thank you for saying that. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I wanted you to know you deserved better from me. Yes, I did. Good luck with the book, Stella. I hope it becomes everything you dreamed of. The line went dead. 6 months later, I stood in the window of Blackwood Books, watching customers browse the bestseller display. Ashes to Ashes by Ash Williams sat at number 3 on the fiction list, its distinctive cover drawing curious fingers and intrigued stares. The embedded ashes had generated massive media attention. Interviews focused on the symbolism, how destruction could become creation, how endings could become beginnings. No one suspected they were looking at the literal remains of a burned manuscript. The book tour had been surreal. Readers connected with the story of betrayal and rebirth, many sharing their own experiences of friendship gone wrong. I'd become an accidental spokesperson for the power of transforming pain into art. Maya had kept her word. She'd disappeared from my life completely, moving to Portland and taking a job at a nonprofit organization. I'd heard through mutual friends that she was using her real name again, but staying far away from the publishing world. "Excuse me," a voice said behind me. "Are you Ash Williams?" I turned to find a young woman with bright eyes and a stack of books clutched to her chest. My book sat on top of the pile, its dark cover gleaming under the store lights. I just wanted to say thank you. Your book helped me realize I wasn't crazy about my own friendship situation. Sometimes people we love hurt us, and it's okay to protect ourselves. I'm glad it resonated with you. The ashes on the cover, was that really from a burned manuscript? I smiled, touching the smooth resin surface of the display copy. What do you think? I think sometimes the most powerful art comes from our deepest pain. I think you're right. She walked away, clutching my book like a talisman. I watched her go, feeling something I hadn't experienced in either of my lives. Peace. Maya had taken my first book, my first chance at success, my first life. But she'd also given me something unexpected, the raw material for an even better story. Through the bookstore window, I could see people on the street carrying copies of my novel. A businessman reading it on his lunch break, a teenager showing the cover to her friend, an elderly woman carefully turning pages at a coffee shop across the street. Each reader was living proof that Maya hadn't won. She'd burned my manuscript, but from those ashes had risen something she could never destroy: my voice, my story, my truth. I pulled out my phone and opened a new document. The cursor blinked expectantly, waiting for the first words of my next novel. I began to type. The second time someone tried to destroy my work, I was ready for them. The words flowed like water, like music, like freedom. Outside, the city hummed with life and possibility. Inside the bookstore, readers discovered stories that might change their lives. And in my pocket, a small vial of ashes remained, the last physical remnant of my original manuscript, saved not for revenge anymore, but as a reminder. Sometimes destruction was just creation in disguise. Sometimes the best way to rise from the ashes was to turn them into something beautiful. Sometimes the greatest revenge was simply refusing to let betrayal define you. I kept writing, the words coming faster now, each sentence a step further away from the girl who'd let Maya burn her dreams. That girl was gone, transformed in the flames just like her manuscript. What remained was something stronger, something that couldn't be burned or stolen or destroyed. What remained was me.